Hello, guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. Today we're going to be going over a unique item which has definitely seen some controversy. It has been buffed, it has been nerfed again, it has been buffed again, and that is the Banished Lord's Talisman. It's a very powerful item that basically can guarantee you an overpower and also gives you a pretty nice overpower increase as well, but does have some very specific requirements. So we're going to talk about this amulet, what you could potentially use it for, and whether it's still any good. First off, it does give 25% resistance to all elements, which is pretty static across all amulets. As you can see, pretty much all amulets give 25% res. On top of this, we also have a massive maximum life of 10%. Now, this isn't just a defensive stat when it comes to overpower. For those of you who are unaware, overpower specifically gains more damage the more HP you have, and also gains more damage the more more fortitude you have. So the not fortitude, sorry, the chinchilla like jumped at the moment and like scrambled my brain means what the hell am I thinking of? I'm like drawing a blank here. Obviously the fortification, sorry, not fortitude, fortification. So fortification also increases the damage with overpower. And because it increases your life, it also increases your maximum fortification. So it's kind of like a nice little double bonus here, is that it gives you more life, which gives you more damage. Give more life means you get more fortification, which means more damage. And in general, this works out to your advantage. As you can see down at the bottom here, you see right there, it says overpowering deals bonus damage based on the sum of your current life and your fortified life. So the more fortification you have, the more life you have, the better. And so adding a 10% maximum life on that was actually pretty brilliant because it enhances the overpower dramatically. On top of this, you could get a greater affix roll on that, and you could also masterwork it to make that 10% much higher, which would definitely be very nice if you were building overpower. Also comes with a 9% increased attack speed, which is really nice because of the way that this item works, and we'll talk about that later. And then we also have a 50 to 60% overpower damage bonus, which is, of course, thematic with the item of enhancing your overpowers. It also gives you +1 to 2 to core skills, and that's going to apply to all of your core skills, as well as some of your mastery skills, which now also function as core skills. Like Ball Lightning is core, Blizzard is core now, Meteor is core, Firewall is core, and so forth and so on. So keep that in mind. Now, the real meat and potatoes of this item comes down to the special effect, which is after spending 275 of your primary resource, your next core skill is guaranteed to overpower. Your critical strikes that overpower deal 60% increased damage, right? So basically, if I throw this amulet on right now, one of the things you'll notice is that I don't really spend a lot of mana. So, like, as you can see, this is the after spending 25, and I'm casting my ability, and I'm only getting very mediocre additions to this, so I'm only counting it up very slowly. And this is something that you'll have to watch out for if you're trying to utilize this amulet, is you really don't want to go with things that give resource cost reduction. So Ring of the Starless Skies is probably not a good idea with this particular build because it's going to reduce the mana cost of your ability, and in turn it's also going to decrease the speed at which you will accumulate these free overpowers. Likewise, resource cost reduction in the form of like flat, like my staff, is also giving me a pretty massive reduction in the cost of my charged bolts, which means I'm going to be generating a lot less in terms of my addition to this free overpower, right? However, if I were to use a skill that actually had like full mana consumption, you'll notice that it goes up much more quickly, and because it goes up much more quickly, when I finally do get that free overpower, I can actually utilize it a lot quicker this way. Now, this does mean that, unfortunately, instead of going with resource cost reduction, you're going to have to go with other things like, for instance, Ring of Starlight, which would restore your mana. You could also potentially go with a lot of different ways that would restore mana. There's actually a lot of items like Ring of the Umbral. There are aspects that can restore your mana, mana regeneration. You could also set up for different things, like if you're a barbarian, fury regeneration, extra fury from using your basic skills. Basically, you've just got to come up with a way that you can spend large amounts of resource without having to like run out. An interesting way that you can utilize this really effectively is the Bone Spirit Necromancer, who uses all of his resource every single time he fires an ability. So, for instance, if he has 300 primary resource, which is actually not too difficult to get on a Bone Spirit Necromancer, you can easily achieve the 275 primary resource cost. And since Bone Spirit was recently changed to a core skill, this actually functions with it, which means you can get a guaranteed overpowered Bone Spirit once every 2 attacks, which is pretty darn crazy. And there's a lot of classes that can still take really good advantage of the Banished Lord's Talisman, the Bone Spirit Necromancer being one of them. But any class that's going to be able to spend large amounts of resource is definitely going to get some good added benefit from this. Why are you being such a big silly bot, Mr. Nimoy? Huh? Why are you such a big silly bot? You're a big silly bot, and I'm going to get your scratches on your tom-tom. Ha. Now, the flavor text on this says, his name has been lost to history, but to have been exiled from a land as cursed as Hawazar, his deeds must have been truly depraved. Scholars' notes. Now, if you are trying to get your hands on a Banished Lord's Talisman, I'm pretty sure it drops from Durel and Andariel, but I do have a target farming tool on Diablo 4.life if you're interested, where you can pull up any of this stuff at any time. You just go down here and you look for your Banished Lord's Talisman, and then it's going to tell you that it comes from, as you can see, Durel, King of Maggots, and Andariel, Maiden of Anguish. So, not exactly really too difficult to get your hands on. In fact, I usually have more trouble getting one with 60 times overpower than I do getting one that has, just like getting one in general. Like I'll have like a whole like 10 or 20 of these things lined up, and they'll all be garbage because none of them rolled with like anywhere near close to a 60 times multiplier, and I throw them all away. But that's just the way things work. Why do you like sitting up on top of the chair, sir, Mr. Nimoy? Hmm? That's right. I see you's up there, sitting on top of the chair. You big old silly butt. But in general, super easy to get your hands on. Just really difficult to get like a perfect one. In this particular setup that they currently have with the 1.5.0, I think if you were doing an overpower build, your best bet would be looking for a Greater Affix Life. Because that not only multiplies based on your maximum life, and it multiplies based on your maximum fortification, but also it's a very defensive stat as well, and helps out all your overpower in turn. So just a really good one overall to get a bonus on. The attack speed feeds into this also by basically, obviously, letting you attack faster, which means you're spending more resource. So the faster you spend resource, obviously, the faster you are going to get that free overpower, which is exactly what you want, right? So if you're attacking really slowly and you're not really spending much resource, you're not going to be able to like really get advantage of these free overpowers as easily, which isn't really what you want. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, even when we're just talking about the Banished Lord's Talisman. I think this one is definitely still a powerful item, despite the nerfs that they've given to it, and there's a lot of builds that can really take advantage of it. As always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, and keep watching.